Part 2 of Chapter 3. Learning strategies in which academic English register is used. The cognitive strategies is the very first type of strategy where we use academic English strategies. And these strategies involved using language to interact with written and hands-on materials, using a range of cognitive processes such as summarizing, deduction, induction, transfer, and inference, very much as we do in the classroom. Metacognitive strategies are the strategies which involve using language to plan and monitor and evaluate one's learning. And the social affective strategies are strategies which involve using language to interact with others, peers, or teachers in the learning process, such as asking questions for clarification or working collaboratively. In these academic English environments, we are purposefully using and within intention to purposefully use academic language that will promote our understanding of and our ability to articulate and express a content or a material or a processes based on our knowledge of that. The importance of academic English registry. With small children in the classroom, and we as educators have to understand that language competencies influence their educational opportunities and achievements. So the more opportunity we give children to use rich language and to articulate themselves and to explore language, the more opportunity that they will have as they get older and as they continue, one, in the academic environment, but two, in that real world environment of the workforce as well. The benefits of entering a workforce, such as creating a strong resume, these come from a sense of an academic English register. We know that language is power, and if we can articulate ourselves well and express ourselves well, then this positions us to be in a position of power in the sense of knowledge as being power. It positions us in the opportunity to, if we're in a work environment, to become the boss in that environment because we can lead the way through our words. The teacher's role is always to encourage acquisition of academic English. And so is there a time where we can be a little less formal in the classroom? Of course, there are always going to be times when we as educators are going to be a little less formal, and that makes us real to our students. While at the same time, we must always model that academic English so that children will do that as well, and that they will use their words and gain greater understanding of definitions and have a richer understanding of linguistic power. Linguistic flexibility is to be able to be in various different environments and use various languages in those environments. So when it's less sophisticated, we can use a tone that's less sophisticated, and when it's more sophisticated, we can use a tone that's more sophisticated. There's something called code switching, and children who are we even as adults are able to code switch based on the environment that we're in. We know what would be appropriate, the type of language to speak in that environment. Children who learn two languages or who are bilingual sometimes have difficulty code switching from one language, such as English, to another language, such as Mandarin. And when they're learning both languages at the same time as toddlers, it's often the case that those children are slower to speak because of the cognitive register that must always take place when they're code switching, when they're changing from one language to another language. So in becoming bilingual, challenges faced by the second language learners are that code switching is one of them, but there's a cultural context that offers limitations also. Beside the natural language context that would present overwhelming challenges for us, just by learning a second language, that cultural piece adds another very difficult piece for children to grasp when learning another language. So we learn a second language simultaneously, so that's alongside with our primary language, or successively. So we first know our primary language, and then our second language we learn after understanding the rules of the primary language. You know, we can find research that supports that that children learn both ways, either simultaneously or successively. The greatest amount of research will say that when a child is learning one language, that it is easy to learn that it is an appropriate time to learn the second language as well. The older we get as we try to learn the second language, oftentimes the harder acquiring that second language becomes. The benefits of being bilingual, we have a higher level of meta-linguistic awareness, a higher level of language knowledge. And so that, remember the language hierarchy that you just did for chapter 2. So linguistic knowledge, meta-linguistic knowledge, and verbalization of meta-linguistic knowledge. So here we're talking about the levels of meta-linguistic awareness, the levels of purposeful intention of using our words and using our language. The more we understand this with even a second language, then the greater representation of knowledge we have and awareness we have of the power of the knowledge that we have gained. Greater and earlier awarenesses of language structure help children when they are learning their second language, because they understand the awareness of that structure, and they understand that culture is the piece to that structure. The wider social and cultural perspectives of learning the language is dependent upon the opportunities that the students have, or that the children have, to be embedded in a second culture, a second community. Many of you showed a video of the little Mateo talking to his mom saying, Linda, but listen, Linda. You can hear that he is speaking broken English. He is speaking English very, very well, but I'm sure by the accent, by his dialect, by his register, that English is not his first and primary language. The more social skills related to varied communicative context that a children is exposed to and has the opportunity to understand, the greater their awareness is of their bilingual, their second language, and the greater their opportunity is to appreciate that culture, understand the culture better. And when we understand the culture better, then we understand the language and the words that we use better as well. The sequence of the second language acquisition optimally resembles the first language acquisition. First we learn to speak, and then we learn written language. So oral language is acquired before